And thank you, Judge Nick Martini, for taking time out of your day to join us here at West End Power. We are greatly appreciate your time, and I do want to let you know that the president of NAACP Pittsburgh branch, he sends his he sends his hellos. He double booked, and so he really wanted to say hi. He wanted to introduce himself to you. So I will make sure that I let him know that I gave you his hellos. And so yes, so Nick, thank you again for joining us here at West End Power, our educational community civic series. And before we get started, just in case for the people who don't know you, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Terry, for having me on the Community Civic Series. Much appreciated. I said it's been a little while since we've been able to do this, so thank you for having me. So, for those of you who might not know who I am, my name is District Judge Nicholas Martini. I took office in January of 2022. My district encompasses pretty much the entire West End, City of Pittsburgh, wards 20 and 28. My office represents 16 neighborhoods. Some are larger, some are smaller, but they're the entire West End of the city of Pittsburgh. In addition to my district office, which is located in the heart of the West End on South Main and Wabash Street, I work at Pittsburgh Municipal Court as well as a city judge. So I rotate through there along with 11 other colleagues who handle a lot of different matters at municipal court, such as all criminal cases that are filed in the city of Pittsburgh. We operate arraignment court, which is a 24/7 operation. And that is not just city cases, that is also any arrests that happen in Allegheny County. That's all processed through arraignment court, which is also housed in Pittsburgh Municipal Court downtown. Also, we handle all City of Pittsburgh traffic offenses there, and as well as any non-traffic offenses that the city police are involved in, including also incidents that happen at the Rivers Casino that the Pennsylvania State Troopers handle. So we also do that there. In addition to that, any homicides throughout Allegheny County are also handled at Pittsburgh Municipal Court on a rotating basis, as are child court cases, which are either juvenile cases or crimes against children under the age of 18. So Pittsburgh Municipal Court's quite busy, and I'm one of 12 city judges who sit there on a rotating basis weekly. So that's a little bit about the district and the jurisdiction I have and cover. But in my office that is located physically in the West End, there we handle, and we're going to talk a lot about quite a few of these things. But I also brushed over one item we're going to talk about. Pittsburgh Municipal Court during the arraignment court is also where emergency protection from abuse orders can be gotten 24/7 as well. Aside from 3 hours a day, they have to be gotten at Family Division Common Pleas. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. But in my district office in the West End, though, the type of cases we have are landlord-tenant cases, which we're going to talk about in quite a little bit here. Civil matters up to $12,000. Non-traffic cases such as truancy cases, and Pittsburgh building code violation cases. So those are the bulk of the cases that I handle in the West End.
Okay, well, thank you for that. You educated me about the casino. I did not know that. I did not know that part. So today, what I wanted to talk to you about, and again, thank you so much for coming, was your work. You got 2 workshops coming up. You touched a little bit on both of them, actually. On May the 3rd, you have the landlord-tenant workshop. And then on May the 31st, you have the protection from abuse workshop, short-term PFA. So, Nick, what does someone have to do to get a PFA?
Okay, so as Terry mentioned, the emergency protection from abuse order, short term, we'll just call it PFA, just to shorten it up a little bit. But so that, just to clue everybody into, that workshop is one that I'm hosting. Also, I'm co-hosting with Pennsylvanians for Modern Courts. These are their workshop series. They actually have about 12 to 14 workshops that any judges can talk to them about co-hosting. And I'm also, in addition to my judicial duties, I'm a member of the Special Court Judges Association State Committee, which meets in Harrisburg 4 times a year. And I'm on the public relations committee. So we did a push, myself and Judge Cooper, who represents the city of Pittsburgh, East Liberty and Homewood District. He and I are the two members from Allegheny County that are on the public relations committee from Allegheny County. And we've worked to educate a lot of our colleagues on trying to host these workshops, as they're so informative to the public who don't know necessarily a lot about these things. Judge Cooper has hosted landlord-tenant ones. Judge Petit, who represents the Hill District and Uptown and some of those downtown, those neighborhoods, he's a perpetual proponent of hosting the landlord-tenant workshop. So we actually push a lot of colleagues throughout the state to host these, and we're hoping we get a lot of participation. So, so this is the first one. This is the first one of those that I'm doing, the Emergency Protections from Abuse Order. It's being done on May 31st, 6 p.m., and it is being held at the West End Carnegie Library branch, which is located at 47 Wabash Street. You can pre-register if you like by going to the PA Modern Courts website. It's on there. It's also on the Carnegie Library of Pittsburgh's events calendar. So you don't have to live in the West End, even though we're located there is where we're doing it, but you can come from anywhere to do this. It's a public event, and we hope, that you'll be able to attend. But so generally, I've been on the bench 16 months, and I have issued 192 emergency PFA orders.
Wow.
There's a lot of need for it. So for a district judge to issue an emergency protections from abuse order, you have to go, this emergency protections from abuse order is only good until the next business day at 8:30 a.m., which is when Family Division of Court of Common Pleas is open for business. So, so from 8:30 a.m. to 11, Monday to Friday, excluding holidays, you have to go to Family Division. We are not allowed to issue them because Family Division is open to issue at that time, which would give you a 10-day PFA. However, if it's not Monday to Friday during 8:30 to 11 a.m., you can go to municipal court anytime after 11 a.m., and you'll see whatever judge is sitting in arraignment court, and you'll present your case. This is called ex parte, meaning it's just you, the petitioner, just telling the judge why you need an emergency protections from abuse order. Generally, so there needs to be some type of abuse element that you're seeking, protection from. This doesn't have to be physical. It can be mental. It can be psychological. There's a lot of different, forms of abuse.
Right.
Physical is obviously one that people think of first, but I've issued them for mental abuse, for psychological abuse. So, the abuse doesn't necessarily have to be against you as an adult. It could be against one of your children, or you can seek it on behalf of minor children as well. So,
Nick, I want to make sure that our audience heard your numbers. You said you have been serving for 16 months.
16 months.
And you have issued 190, how many?
192
PFAs.
That's as of today. Yep.
Wow. And of course, I strongly believe that COVID has so much to do, our isolation has so much to do with so much that is coming into your courtroom, I'm sure. Yeah. Wow. I'm definitely want to make sure that I spread that, because that's a lot. That's scary.
It is. It's a lot. And there's a huge safety element, involving it too. And I often will stress to someone who I issue, the emergency PFA, that you need to follow. I found sufficient evidence on an ex parte level today to grant this for you. However, if today's Monday, so Tuesday morning, you need to be at Family Division to try to see if the common pleas judge will give you a 10-day PFA. Yeah. Because my order expires the next business day at 8:30 a.m. So
that's so important.
The follow through is extremely important.
And so when they get a PFA, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just want to make sure. But so when they get a PFA from your courtroom, it's no good. It's only good up until 8:30 in the morning, and then from 8:30 a.m. to 11, they have to go to Family Division. Correct?
Correct. Yep. 440 Ross Street, Family Law Center. Correct.
But they cannot get. I think one of the big mistakes that happened, but they cannot get a PFA for custody. Correct?
That's correct. Yeah. So one thing that is sometimes a perplexing issue is sometimes people will try to get an emergency PFA basically for a custody type arrangement where one party doesn't want the other party to have the kids for and that's strictly a family division matter.
Okay.
So district judges will typically not issue any PFAs if you're just trying to get custody of your children.
Okay.
That this is not to be used for custody orders.
Okay. And so that was, you answered my next question actually, because my next question was, what are some mistakes that we make when we are, seeking a PFA, protected from abuse orders? So you answered that question for us. Thank you so much for that.
Terry, one other thing I will say just regarding emergency PFAs, so like it's hard. I mean, usually there's nobody else in the courtroom, but there could be. It's a courtroom, so
Yeah.
there could be sometimes there'll be 3-4 people sitting there waiting to get a PFA, and I call up, Jill Smith, come on up, tell me why you need an emergency PFA, and so I mean, just try to stay composed and have the material you want to present to me there. If it's threatening text messages, have the text messages. If it's something in writing, if it's something printed, if it's physical, maybe you have bruises on your arm or whatever, in a place that you can show me. I mean, be able to do that, because the more you can convey your case to whatever judge is sitting there, the better it is. And you'll need to do this at family division too when you go up there. They're good, because what you told me doesn't transfer, so you need to tell the family division judge the next day or when you go there. So
well, that's good to know. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much. Two things that is very important that I want our audience to grasp is, one, from your courtroom, 8:30 in the morning, they must go to the family division to be able to go get a 10-day PFA.
Correct.
And so I want to make sure that that is stressed.
Yeah.
That's highly stressed. Thank
you. The other thing too, just to quickly say, so the order of operation basically for this is, if you get an emergency protection from abuse order from a district judge, it's only good until the next business day at 8:30. So if you get it over the weekend, it's good until Monday. What's that?
You went out a little bit. Can you?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I said, so
start from if someone got a PFA on a Friday.
Okay. Yep. So if somebody's issued an emergency PFA order on a Friday, it's good until Monday at 8:30.
Okay.
But if you get it Monday through Thursday, it's only good until the next business day at 8:30. So after that, you'd have to go to family division, at which that judge will decide if they're going to give you a full 10-day PFA. Okay. If that's awarded, after that 10 days, a hearing is scheduled where both parties, the defendant in the case, who is could be your spouse or a current or former boyfriend, intimate partner, or a relative. That's the other criteria I really should mention too. Those three classes basically I just named, you have to fit into one of those to get a protection from abuse order. You cannot get a protection from abuse order if you're having a neighbor issue. That's not a PFA. You have to be either married, you have to be related by blood, or you need to be a current or former partner. So that's an important thing that some people also come in. I want to get a protection from abuse order because my neighbor's annoying me. If you're not related, it doesn't qualify.
Oh, wow. You know what? I did not know that.
That's important.
I thought, like, if the neighbors is hello, Pastor Coleman. Pastor Coleman said hi. So if neighbors are arguing, constantly arguing, that does not qualify for a PFA,
no.
Protected from abuse. Whoa.
Nope. The city police, if they deem appropriate, they would have to file a non-traffic citation for whatever they find appropriate, in which case it would be handled in non-traffic court or criminal court, depending on what's going on. But that is not subject to a PFA, though. No.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you so much.
Yep.
Learned something new again.
And lastly, after the 10-day, I'm sorry, I'm a little bit.
No, please, yes.
After if you're awarded the 10-day, a hearing is then set up at family division where you and the defendant party would have a joint hearing. So at this point, it's not ex parte anymore. Both parties will be there. And then the judge at that point will decide if they're going to actually enter a full protection from abuse order that could be good for anywhere from 6 months to I've seen them as long as 4 years.
Yeah.
So that's common pleas determination. But
wow.
yeah.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you for that. And then you'll be going more into that on May 31st.
Yes, correct. So yeah, so if this is definitely something you're interested in, more so, we're doing a whole evening on this. It's probably going to last, around probably an hour and a half to 2 hours. So yeah, that's May 31st, 6 p.m. West End Library, 47 Wabash Street. And you can register on the library website, Pennsylvanians for Modern Courts. I've also posted it on my social media. You might have to go back a little bit. I posted a little while ago, but I'm sure Terry will.
Yes, absolutely.
Put them out too. So yeah, so that's how you could pre-register for that one if you're interested.
So now let's talk about your May 3rd, your landlord-tenant workshop.
Yep, May 3rd. So this one's actually next Wednesday. It's hard to believe it's already May, but yes, this is the landlord-tenant workshop. I'm also, same thing, I'm also co-hosting with Pennsylvanians for Modern Courts. Same time, it's Wednesday, May the 3rd, 6 p.m. Same location, Carnegie Library, West End, 47 Wabash Street. Registration's available online at their website and PA Modern Courts. So to date, as I gave you statistics for protection abuse orders that I've issued, to date, in 16 months, I have presided over 502 to be exact, landlord-tenant cases solely in my court in the West End.
Wow.
502 as of today.
So you have gave us some staggering numbers. 16 months, you have done 192 PFAs, protected from abuse orders. In 16 months, 502 landlord-tenant orders. So let me ask you, tell us, what's escrow? What's escrow? Can you tell us what does a tenant need to know about escrow?
Sure. So this, right before I get into that, so the landlord-tenant workshop, I've spoken, as I kind of mentioned earlier, just through two of my city colleagues, Judges Cooper and Petit. They've already hosted these previously, but this is it's a very well attended workshop typically, because there's a lot of interested parties into the integral workings in the law as it relates to landlord-tenant matters. So no judges are permitted to give legal advice regarding your particular situation,
right?
But the landlord-tenant law, which was actually established in Pennsylvania in 1953, there have been numerous updates and amendments to it, obviously, as you can imagine, over the course of 70 years. So, but escrow is mentioned in landlord-tenant law, meaning if you, a tenant, are having problems with your unit, you simply just cannot choose to not pay rent. However, what you are legally allowed to do, if you're having issues that you've notified your landlord about, a lot of ones that I've seen through my, there's issues with the furnace, air conditioner, appliances aren't working,
right?
Roofs leaking, and a variety of bathroom issues. So generally, what the law kind of is written as is, you as a tenant, you need to notify your landlord in some type of writing, which nowadays, I mean, is so much different than when the law was originally written in 1953. All there was at that point was mail.
Right.
Now you have email, there's texting. I mean, I see all of this in court, and it's all fine as long as it's some median of writing. So if you notify your landlord that, hey, I have, it's 44 degrees, my furnace isn't working. So you have to give the landlord with a reasonable amount of time to correct whatever the issue is. So if they don't in that amount of time, you're legally allowed to withhold rent, but you have to put it in an escrow account, which simply means a checking account or savings account, basically different from your personal checking, say. So you'd have to say you bank at PNC Bank. You want to go to PNC Bank, open a separate account. Let's say your monthly rent is $750. That's what you want to deposit in that account. And you can tell your landlord this, that because you have not, because in 2 weeks' time you've chosen not to fix this, this furnace issue, whatever. I've deposited May's rent in this escrow account at PNC Bank. Upon completion of or upon repair of the issue, I will release the money.
And Nick, I want to make sure that, just as we stated that on May 31st, on May the 3rd, next week, anyone from the city of Pittsburgh can come to this workshop to learn more about a landlord and tenant at this landlord tenant workshop.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's a great presentation that PA Modern Courts, co-host with me. I mean, the PowerPoint slide's awesome. It covers really A to Z. It covers the bulk of the law, and common things too, that these workshops are really aimed at basically just informing all parties to kind of make it a better court experience too for everybody involved, kind of ways that how you should present your case, things you should bring. I mean, these are important aspects because, I mean, it's both parties' case basically to prove when you get to court what's going on here, and the judge is basically the mediator of this and has got to try to, figure out what's going on. I mean, and so, but we will highlight a ton of this next week in terms of, trying to basically things you should bring to court with you. But escrow is important though, because, if you're a tenant and you notify your landlord of issues, which it happens. I mean, things break, things happen, but the communication's key. And that's always something I say in a ton of hearings, communication's key with everything. And if you do it, make sure it's in some form of writing, whether it's a text, whether it's an email, just have that communication. It's important.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to comment on when you had said make sure to have documentation of, the text messages, email, inbox screenshots,
whatever.
So I'm glad you repeated that. I'm really glad you repeated that. And so with my next question was what rights does the tenant have? And basically you just answered, they have a right to live in a healthy, safe environment. And if not, that is not being done, you basically by law gave these are some steps that may take place, that you can take place.
Yep. Something that is also in the Landlord Tenant Act, which is something that does not have to be written in a lease, and that's another good point too, before I actually, but I mean, as a tenant too, make sure it's important generally that read leases, I mean, that's important because there's some leases. I've seen ones that are a page. I've seen ones that are 30.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's important to just look at the generality of the lease. Not every section's, extremely important, but there are some that are really important. So we'll talk about a little bit of that too at the landlord tenant workshop. But I mean, that's an important thing. But one thing I wanted to mention that's in the Landlord Tenant Act that is something that doesn't have to be in a lease, but every tenant has the right. It's called the implied law of habitability, meaning that you as a tenant have the right to live in a habitable home or apartment. So that doesn't have to be in the lease. It's an implied law. So this is something that I see a lot in landlord tenant cases about is this home or apartment habitable based on photos, based on different things that the tenant maybe is presenting as issues with the place. I had a case several months ago that, usually I'll see photos. A tenant will print photos or they'll have it on their phone, which is fine. That's really all, that we're looking for. I had a tenant though, a couple months ago, she drug in a black hefty bag. And I said, what is in that? And she said, this is my ceiling that fell in. I said, okay. And we had a hefty bag of ceiling tile. So,
wow. And so you will be going into more on May 3rd, at the landlord tenant workshop.
Yes. Yep.
Wow.
Absolutely,
wow. Yeah. So listen, Nick. So again, I want to, if you can reiterate, where are the workshops going to be? And again, no one has to, I mean, people that lives throughout the city of Pittsburgh can attend this Protected from Abuse workshop on May the 31st. And then on May the 3rd, next week, the landlord tenant workshop. Can you reiterate where are the workshops going to be? I will, for our audience, I will make sure that they're on all of my social media. And where else can they get this information at, Nick?
Absolutely. So both workshops, as Terry said, landlord tenant, Wednesday, May the 3rd. Emergency protection from abuse order is Wednesday, May the 31st. Both workshops are being held at starting time 6 p.m. and both are at the Carnegie Library West End branch located at 47 Wabash Street. And you can pre-register if you like on either Pennsylvania Modern Courts website or also on the Carnegie Library of Pittsburgh. Their website on the events calendar has both of these listed on there. So you could also register for the May 31st PFA, even though it's, a little over a month away, but it's available. I have these on my social media. My Facebook page has both already posted. Also, one last thing I wanted to mention regarding landlord tenants. If tenants are having issues, if they call my office and say, well, what should I do, regarding an issue I have in my place, we always refer them, which most district judges will do. We will refer them to neighborhood legal services, which is a great, and it's a paid for by, it's a government paid, basically
right,
paid organization that provides free legal advice to those potentially facing court, appearances. So feel free to always contact neighborhood legal services where they can give you legal advice. They can tell you what maybe are some steps you should take or to prepare yourself for court. So if anybody needs to contact neighborhood legal services, they're located on Penn Avenue in Pittsburgh, but you obviously can look up their website. But their phone number is 412-255-6700. And they operate Monday to Friday in normal business hours.
And like you said, this is free legal advice, ladies and gentlemen. Yes. And so I want to make sure that I echo that. And so, Nick, before we wrap it up, is there anything that you would like to say? And first, that's one question. And then my second question is this something you're going to do periodically through, these workshops, or you're listening to the community on different topics of the workshops? So is this something you're going to be doing quite often?
Yeah, certainly. I would really like to. Can you hear me now?
Yes. Back? Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes. I certainly would like to do these probably maybe twice a year if the community is interested enough. I mean, I certainly think can convey and present the information well, and I do see a lot of these. So I mean, I know what I see in court. I know a lot of the process. I mean, so these are, and I was a teacher originally, so I do have the ability to usually convey information pretty well. So I mean, I love the learning experience, from this aspect of it too, and I mean, we're really just trying to convey information to just make things easier for anybody who might have to come into court, whether you're a plaintiff or a defendant, a landlord or a tenant. And as we kind of talked about too, if you do have to seek an emergency protection from abuse order, from your partner, from a family member, I mean, it's so strenuous and stressing. So I'm just trying to make that process as easy as possible. If anybody, hopefully you don't have to, but if you do, trying to just make it as easy as possible. Terry, can we talk about when we talk, are we going to talk about the fines and fees? Were you getting into that?
Yes, before, but even if I wasn't, yes, please, because I wanted to, as we wrap up the fines and fees, where one of my biggest questions is always, where does the money go?
Okay, so real quick, so you probably won't be able to see this greatly, but so I am myself. So a new law came into effect. March the 3rd of this year. It was called Act 163 of 2022. For anybody who's familiar with the general legislative process, to get any type of law passed, there's three steps basically in the legislative/executive branch. The House, the PA House and Senate need to approve the same law, and the governor has to sign it as well. So it's hard to get some of these things done. Now, Act 163 of 2022, which was signed into law by Governor Wolf in November of 2022, but became law. There was a 120-day delay in the law becoming law, which actually expired on March the 3rd of 2023. This law, Act 163 of 2022, was passed unanimously by the PA House and Senate. I don't know if there's ever been anything that had 0 no votes. Really hard to believe, but the spirit of the law was there among. I mean, it's so hard to get that kind of bipartisan support too, out of both chambers. But so basically, what the passage of Act 163 of 2022 did was it gave district judges the ability for the first time to forgive fines and fees that were already adjudicated from cases on non-traffics and traffic cases, which was never the case prior to March of this year. Traffic cases, we never had the ability to forgive fines and fees on. They had to be paid as PennDOT required. District judges always had the authority for non-traffic cases, which would be like a truancy case or maybe a building code case or a disorderly conduct or harassment case. We always had the ability to send someone to community service in lieu of paying a fine and fees. But what Act 163 now did is if you were found guilty or pled guilty to any type of traffic cases that are older or non-traffic cases, if you schedule a payment determination hearing in our court and myself or another district judge finds that you show us that you do not have the ability to pay these existing fines, we're able to waive your fines and fees. So I mean, this is really a game changer for a lot of people.
It's huge. That's huge.
Yeah, because a lot of traffic cases. I mean, you're talking license suspensions.
Yes.
If you don't pay traffic fines that you got, PennDOT will suspend your license. So, I mean, you may or may not know it, but you could be driving around with a suspended license. So if you get pulled over, there's even more issues that come with it. So, and
this is huge.
A lot of people don't even know that they're doing it. But so I've done since March 3rd, myself and some other judges rolled out the exposing of this and telling people to please call our offices to see if you have any old cases that you have not paid on. Schedule this payment determination. Let's determine if you have the ability to pay. We can put you on a payment plan, which will that could renew your license as long as you're on an active payment plan. They can be. I have payment plans as little as $5 a month.
Yeah, this is so huge, Judge Martini. This is because I know so many people that have lost their license, as you said, due to fines and fees.
Oh, it's huge. I mean, I do these routinely. I do a lot of traffic more so, like I said, at Pittsburgh Municipal Court. But I mean, so many people come in, and there's cases upon cases of things. And just a couple months ago, well, that was after March 3rd, but I had a gentleman come in who had, I think, about $1,300 worth of old fines and fees from all traffic cases that he either pled guilty to or was found guilty of years ago. And he was trying to restart his life. He needed his license back because he had a job waiting for him at Amazon delivering. And, I mean, we were able to work some things out where I have him on a $10 a month payment plan. And that basically squared him away where he's making a $10 a month payment. And now he's working for Amazon, delivering goods to people's houses, so I mean, every day. And I mean, it's huge. So, I mean, but this though, in addition to the payment plan option, community service is obviously an option. I do a lot of community service that I, tell people, listen, we can, you owe $400. How about, you do 8 hours of community service, then you're done. The whole thing's vacated. And then, and more importantly too, with the big part about this new law though is if you show, if you're able to show me that you cannot afford it, I've had people bring in their W-2s, their tax statements, maybe they're on SNAP, they're on WIC, they're receiving subsidized housing. I mean, these are all potential issues now that you can say you really cannot pay this, and we're able to vacate with the proof of that. So it's important to contact the courts. And if you know that you have unpaid, don't be afraid from this. I mean, just
Yeah.
a lot of judges now, myself included, I mean, we're really trying to help people out and just get you squared away, whether it be a very, a manageable payment plan. Just because you might owe $1,000, you can pay $10 a month.
Yeah.
That will keep you current. It will keep you from having issues from this. It'll get you a license back. I mean,
Wow.
it's important, to do.
Game changer. And this is Act 163, 2022. Nick, that's a game changer because I probably want to make that my backdrop on my social media, because I know so many people that just don't know, that they have the ability to get their license back.
It is. And one thing that unfortunately I can't really convey a lot of information about it now, because Terry and I were chatting about this earlier. I had a meeting scheduled that got canceled because some other people could not attend it. But and there's so much more so than just at my office in the West End, but there were so many I worked at municipal court this afternoon, and I had 5 payment determination hearings for people that had unpaid or adjudicated and unpaid non-traffic tickets. So, I mean, there's a few of us that are working to we're working on something that we're going to try to host at Pittsburgh Municipal Court. I'm hoping this summer. I don't have any details because this meeting, we weren't able to have this meeting yet, but it's coming soon. But I'm hoping that we will be able to do something at Pittsburgh Municipal Court where we would have jurisdiction over any cases that are housed in municipal court, which is the entire city.
Yeah.
So just of Pittsburgh, obviously, no municipalities, but just the city of Pittsburgh. So if you have traffic cases that are not paid, if you have non-traffics that are not paid, we're hoping to do something there with the city judges that will work it, and being able to either put you on a manageable payment plan, community service, or vacate if you show us that you do not have the money. So I mean, I will certainly disseminate this information, hopefully in the coming month or two, as long as we can get this scheduled. And I'm sure Terry and West End Power will be more than happy to
absolutely
to as soon as we have some details. But this is something that I'm working on because I know the need and the importance of it.
Yeah. And Paula, yes, I echo a viewer wrote that is interesting, and it really is. And Mr. Thomas Craig wrote, knowledge is progressing, divine, majestic, and simply marvelous. Indeed, learning is power. Let me see, learn to grasp all that is available and helpful. So therefore it can be utilized to help our people in need. So please, ladies and gentlemen, that just heard that Act 163, I did not know anything about it. If you know someone that is struggling to get their license back, please reach out, because these workshops, now these 2 workshops is for, will they be able to ask you anything about fines and fees at these workshops?
Sure. Yep, no problem. I can't tell you where you may have them, obviously, because that would need to be looked up, in the court's computer. But I can certainly, I'm happy at both of these to talk a little bit more about Act 163 of 2022. If you have any questions, like I said, I can't tell you that where you might have these things, but we can certainly talk generally about because in a lot of cases too, I mean, there's like I said, people don't know about it. So,
right.
And it's important, because a lot of times people will find out about it because they don't have a license, or they're having issues receiving some type of benefit because they have existing fines.
Yeah.
It could be sometimes too. I mean, I've seen this a few times that I've had a couple residents come into my office and they said, we came in here because we were told by, the housing authority that we have an unpaid fine here, and this could jeopardize our subsidized housing. And, then at that point, you either got to just get them on it. But I mean, it's a shame that this is a barrier to some of this, but it's important to get it cleaned up, because find out about it and get it taken care of before it becomes too late. Or maybe it affects your housing, or it could affect your license. I mean, you don't, you want to get to it before it gets to that point.
So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Please, if you know anyone, as Judge Martini said, this is not just for his district. This is, if anyone wants this information, on May the 3rd of next week is the landlord tenant workshop. And May the 31st, is the protection from abuse, the PFA workshop. Nick, you want to give the address one more time before we agree to wrap it up?
Sure, no problem. Both of these are being held at the Carnegie Library West End branch located at 47 Wabash Street, West End. It's Pittsburgh, 15220.
Thank you so much. And before we leave, is there anything else that you would like to say before we wrap it up for the night?
I don't think so. I'm really honored and privileged to be able to, convey some of this information to our viewers tonight. I hope you find it interesting. I mean, and I'm always more than happy to, answer any questions that I'm legally allowed to. And I look forward to seeing people at hopefully both the sessions on May 3rd and May the 31st. And I'm really hoping that people will enjoy the workshops, because I really am looking forward to co-hosting them and being able to convey this information to people who need it and definitely will find it interesting and enlightening. So thank you so much for having me on here tonight. I definitely would, obviously be willing to do these in the future. Certainly we can. And I really am looking forward to hopefully getting a fine and fee workshop day scheduled at Pittsburgh Municipal Court too. And I'm really working on doing this, and I hope to have some information in the coming weeks. Because
yes, please share that information with me. I'll make sure to get it out, put it on my church's wall, information wall. I will make sure to get that information out. And so there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Please mark your calendar now. May the 3rd, Landlord-Tenant Workshop. May the 31st, Protection from Abuse Workshop. Again, you do not have to live in the district. You just have to live in the city of Pittsburgh to attend these workshops. And so with that, Judge Martini, I want to say thank you for taking the day out to educate us. Education is power. Education is power. And so I want to thank you so much for taking your time out to do this with us. We look forward to having you back on to educate us some more. And I will see you on May the 3rd, because I'll definitely be at the workshop.
All right. Looking forward to it. Thank you, everybody. Have a good evening. Okay.
Thank you, everyone. Hold on.